What's happening, guys? I hope everybody had a fantastic long weekend. Labor Day, it is a Monday night scan instead of a Sunday night scan. And the market's melting. Market's coming in like crazy the last couple of weeks. We talked about never underestimating that bear market rally. Everybody always positions for the worst. Everybody always kind of starts to hedge to the downside, and then it starts to come back. They unhedge. They, end up on the wrong side. They try to find the top, and then we end up extending further than we would typically go. Now, obviously, it turned, rather quickly, just on the downside, and then it just kept on, going back up. From the downside to the upside, it just, snap your fingers, and we're steadily going up until last week. And likewise, same snap of the fingers, and now we're going back down. So it's nothing easy to kind of anticipate, because if you were anticipating that reversal, there's a good chance you've been trying to find the top for 2, 3, 4 weeks, and you'd be lucky to break even. So point being is that there's a lot of meat still both ways, and I feel like most of the people that are having trouble in this market are trying to force a thesis to play out. But sometimes it's good just to take a step back, look at the big picture, look at how much range is actually there, and you really only need a piece of it to get the meat of the move. Not the top, not the bottom, but the meat of it, and you're going to be doing just fine. I think it's going to be a very important week not to try to find the bottom. With size, of course, I might dabble here and there just to get a feel for things, just like NVIDIA, just like SPY. Get a feel for how it's reacting, and sometimes unless you're actually in the trade, you don't really get that full sense of what's going on. Now that works for some, and that could be just a disaster for others that don't really have the risk management to adjust if needed, or cut it off, or scale in, etc. So typically, I would look for a certain key level that is having resistance at, and wait for that level to become the new support, especially if you're looking on the long side. You saw me take a lot more longs last week. AMC, APE, the SPY reversal the Thursday, the NVIDIA reversal on Thursday, but unfortunately I sold for pretty much flat. Let's see what the week brings. Are we going to have gap ups and fade offs, gap downs and reversals? We'll see. But be prepared, open mind. There's no sense trying to figure it out, trying to find the top, trying to find the bottom. Finding the bottom is no different than shorting into a small cap, trying to find the top. It's one of those things where you could keep on going further than you would expect, and then you end up missing the move, and the whole move, just because you're either exhausted from it or you just said the hell with it. So other than that, last week we had another ATXG. ATXG was just like the conversation we had on MEGL, where it was like my real fear. I had that like small moment when I had small size of MEGL, and I was like, man, what if it just doesn't look back? What if it just keeps going? And we had it on that ATXG, and not even a couple weeks later. And the unfortunate part about it is that it probably was self-created, in the sense that a lot of these borrows that were given, whether or not they were legitimate or not, who knows, but maybe there was no shares in the system, and then all of a sudden they're putting in these shares which are not real, and it just kind of creates that self-squeeze in a sense, because once those shares are bought by longs, then basically the shorts can't buy them back. And it also had a offering at $5 that was not closed until September 2nd. So I really do think that is the case. I don't really think that there was any inventory. I think it was thin before the uplist, and I think that if there was any longs, I think between a QSEP change or the ticker change, or I don't even know if I had a ticker change. Whatever the case, moving it from OGCs to basically NASDAQ, the uplist in itself, I just don't think people had shares to sell. And people thought that the offering was, good enough to locate against. And again, it wasn't closed yet. So who really knows? But very unique situation, scary situation, and exactly my fear that I spelled out on MEGL just a couple weeks ago. So it's just another one of those reminders and smack in the face that, they work until they don't work. And it's great to get some, really nice, great unwinds. But when you are trading something with, a lack of liquidity, if too many borrows are given out and too many people are on the wrong side of the move, then you have these outlier events like you had last week. So it's just another one of those reasons, I guess, that in this day and age, just need to avoid low float, low volume types of trades, especially on the front side of the move. Because obviously you saw, as soon as that happened, as soon as, the next day came, down 96%, then down another, 50% or whatever. So anyway, Project Impact, everybody that is a pledger to Project Impact, you're going to have a pleasant surprise this week with something that we are giving you. So we appreciate you being a Project Impact member, but stay tuned this week for what you will have access to. Also, virtual tickets for Traders for a Cause. We will be live streaming again for those that cannot make it. And we will have information, I think, probably by Wednesday. So keep an eye on the Traders for a Cause Twitter handle. And also, if you're on the newsletter, you'll also receive that information. We are max capacity. We did have a small block come available just once the sponsors deadline was done. Then we figured out how many extra tickets we would have. We put them out there when we had kind of given the heads up, and they were gone very quickly. So other than that, we've got two, you guys know, everybody that's in IU, you know how smart, the room is in the sense that, it's got technology behind it. And Max continually adds new scanners, new features, literally every single week, every other week, maybe even sometimes every day. But I'm sure, if you're in the room, you've seen all the new features that we have. You can now click, pre-market scanner. You can click intraday scanner. You can click after-hours scanner. Obviously, the price alerts, all the different charts, all the different information that automatically pushes through for you. But we're also adding more people to the roster, and you guys have listened to Sam's interview. Turbo in the room. He's always been helpful. He's always a standout kind of helper in the lounge. And so he's going to start doing some study sessions like we had done before on the Saturdays. But he really liked that feel where, he might come with something that he's prepared to talk about, but then bring in different traders to discuss either a win, a loss, what was good, what was bad, what they could improve on. And really kind of create that atmosphere of, sharing and knowledge going back and forth. So I'm excited about that. He's really excited about that. He does some of it anyway in the lounge, just helping out on a regular basis. So and people are typically, they speak highly of his help. He gets a lot of compliments. So it only makes sense, and I think it's going to be very beneficial for everybody that's part of the room. Well, last but not least, t-shirts. Keeve Bow, Wesley Wood, and Jazz Nola. You guys get the t-shirts for this week. Again, all you have to do is like the video, leave a comment of your key takeaway and the timestamp, and we'll ship them out. So let's get into the scan for the week ahead. All right, guys, so for the second part of Scan, as always, I'm not a financial advisor. These are not buy or sell recommendations. This is for educational and informational purposes only. If you're not okay with that, shut it off. But my goal here is to kind of teach you what I'm looking for, what I think would make a good trade, and, if and when it sets up, what would cause me to take that trade. So if you're looking to be told what to buy or sell or do, that's not what we're about. That's not what we do. That's not what we offer. If you're interested in understanding more of the why, then you're in the right place. As always, I like to go over things that have been, causing me issues, as well as what's working in the current market environment. So once again, you kind of having that mentality of I've got to let this trade work from bell to bell continues to be something that you probably want to avoid if trends are holding 10-11 plus, 10-11 a.m. plus. And the reason for that is because you see a lot of shorts come in, comes out, holds sideways throughout the day, and then those shorts come back out by close. Next day, we typically have, a gap down and some sort of unwind. Also, NERV, if you guys were paying attention, I'm sure you were, but just a great example of, similar to TBLT example. Anybody that's been watching these videos should be familiar with TBLT discussion, and I think GOVX we threw in there too. But you don't need to find the top, right? And NERV was no different. And then once everybody's exhausted from trying to find the top, they avoid it, and guess what? We get that huge unwind. So I think we played that one pretty well. But again, it just goes to show you don't need to find the top in order to get the meat of the move. And most of the time, people do try to find the top and miss the meat of the move. So NVDA has been pretty good. I've been using this one as my sort of tech type trade instead of something like TQQQ. I did used to like to trade that a lot. You could also trade SQQQ. But for me, NVIDIA, you've got AMD, you've got Apple, whatever one that you personally like best. Find, your spot, your price range, and, put it on radar. Personally, NVIDIA was nice. It had that relative weakness the prior days, and then it just kind of came apart. So I'll probably be trading this one for the week ahead. There's not really a game plan like if it's going to do this, then I'll do that. Right now, we need to see, are we gapping up 500 points? Are we gapping down 500 points? But 9:45, 10 a.m. plus, I'll be looking for opportunity. But, I always look kind of left, get an idea for certain levels that would be of interest. You can do quick lines like this just to kind of get an idea of, okay, where should I be interested in it? Because a lot of times people just start to make decisions on the fly and they don't really have a plan. And then when it comes to a point of kind of pressure, they bail. And had they just drawn a few lines, maybe they would recognize that they were, in between this little channel. And maybe they wouldn't have made such an emotional decision. So I always like to push drawing lines on the chart. It will help you. It's helped me in more ways than one. AMC, nice one. I got long on Friday, and then I flipped on the short side. That was a nice trade idea in the room. Ramped up over VWAP, so I liked to join that trend versus VWAP. Ape did the same thing. They don't always have to or will trade together, but they were. And it gave great opportunity, as well as the options. Options doubled on the nines. They went actually more. They went from about a dime to 25 cents. And then it gave the opportunity, you could potentially sell that premium right back down. So that was a good opportunity, and it's going to stay on watch. I would like to see a morning shove and then, fail to follow through. BBBY. This one continues to be great. He probably hammering out that ATM. The volume's completely shot from prior to the ATM, so it's been a little bit more of a thinner type of trade. But at any point, they could say the ATM is done, and then we could have some type of push off that headline. But I do think it's going to stay heavy, and it's going to head back towards 5 in the short term. That said, the CFO, I believe, as well. He is the chief financial officer of BBBY. Literally jumped off a building this weekend, and the person who did anyway was identified as him. So that's going to be interesting of how the stock reacts and whether or not there's fear of what else was going on behind the scenes. It's sad, but it happened, and so that's going to have to be dealt with before the Tuesday Open and kind of see what people's reactions are. But for now, if it were to open, it had a gap, I'd be looking to fade it. And I do think that the short term it's going to have pressure until maybe they put out that PR that says ATM's complete. And again, if it were to spike, I'd be looking for opportunity to fade it back. Drug, I'd be looking any good pops for failed follow through. This was an idea from Friday, and we went over it in the room for 220s being the key level. And the reason for that, I had the level on my chart from the prior run, but it was prior level of support. And, you know, it was a level that we were using the prior days to kind of see, all right, it's holding trend now, and then it blew out, and then it came right back. You can see it's kind of hovering over this level. So when it came back up, you want to assume that it's going to retest that level. It doesn't need to just top at 220. You want it to be over 220 because that's exhausting everybody that was probably on the wrong side. Once it comes back under 220s, that's when I get interested, and that was the trade that, you know, I ended up taking. So morning shove again and failed follow through is ideal. I think it's another one of those crowded shorts. It's doing just enough to keep shorts on their toes, make them cover, re-come back in, cover, re-come back in, and keeping it liquid. But I do think that it ends up, you know, unwinding back under towards the 140s level, 150s, 140s. PXMD, very nice opportunity. This is, you know, when different underwriters have these crazy short squeezes, people start to trade other names that have the same underwriters and make the case that, hey, this one's going, so this one should go. This was the case here. It caught some shorts off guard. It was a phenomenal trader, you know, just drawing lines and kind of having an idea that everything over that 615, 620 level is probably, you know, shorts getting smoked. And then obviously the level of support after it breaks that 550 range or so, you know, you can pretty much assume that most of the folks throughout the day are on the wrong side and the squeeze is over. So I held some of that over, but I had covered most late into the after hours session from the idea in the room. HPCO continues to be one of those where, you know, this one also got some momentum because of some of the other action we had this week. People thinking, all right, well, if SPSH or whatever it was, the other name, Boosted, Boustead is the name of the underwriter. Because the other one was going, everybody started to swarm towards this one. Gave a nice, you know, 50 million share day, and then back fell on its face on Friday. So morning shove, failed follow through, probably tapers off back down to nothing over the short term. GCT, same deal, higher the better. Failed follow through. It's thin, so you don't need to trade a ton, but watch, let everybody kind of do what they want to do off the open. Once it settles down, you know, I've been looking to fade it. Switching over to the continuation side, anybody that paid attention to the only swing that I've had for quite a while is AVYA. Nice breakout. Idea was at the 110s, shot up to 160s, had shaved some off, consolidated. You can see the wicks that we talk about, and so far letting it work. It just came into this little gap fill so far. So now going to see if it's going to continue in this range and start to build a new base. And if so, then ideally, you know, it starts to rip back through too. But as with anything, make sure you're, you know, locking it along the way. But it would be nice to see if this thing starts to really rip and build over to. I'm trying to let it work, given the average, and you know, we'll see what happens. A couple other charts of interest, no positions, AYLA. You got this little liquidity trap kind of set up that ended up failing, but then it's coming all the way back. So now I'm interested, especially over 210s and especially if 240 starts to build. That's what's going to really send this thing higher. If 210s build, if 240s, 250s start to confirm. RVPH, another example, one of those that should have died, had the huge move, started to get the wicks. You can see dip, rip back up, dip, rip back up. So watch all dips, and as long as 250s don't break, you know, not break, but as long as they don't peak, meaning 250 fails, 240 fails, then I am interested. If it consolidates around 250, builds a new base, I'm interested in potentially joining that trend. Last but not least, AREC, nice trend, no position, but definitely interesting to potentially join if this continues to base. Looks like it's got a nice little support system started here at 310s. So that's where my head's at for the week ahead. Again, it's only 4 days. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comment section. If you are liking the video and leaving a comment with your key takeaway, drop a question as well in there, and I will try to answer some of them next week on Sunday video. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you guys in the room on Tuesday.